So whenever you came into the program, after your redshirted season, you immediately got on the field and made an impact as a walk-on. That's hard to do. There's scholarship athletes that don't even get to play that early. In your opinion, what attributed to you getting playing time at such a young age?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that went into it. I mean, you know what it takes to be elite at the University of Texas, so I'm just trying to be like you. But no, I think, there's a difference between dreams and goals. I think dreams is something that you lay down at night knowing, all right, I wish I can get to this point. And then goals are, all right, weekly, I'm going to accomplish this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And you look up and your dream is right in your face. And so the most important thing for me was not looking at the bigger picture, but really just looking about what was right in front of me, what was my next step, whether that was, spend the night at the facility, just all night, just grinding, or whether it was just, trying to be a leader in my positioning group, not vocally, of course, because I didn't have that yet, but just doing it by example, running by, the safety that was the starter and trying my best to beat him in every single drill. Just little things like that, uplifted my competitive nature, my competitive edge. But just having that chip on my shoulder really just got me through, being a walk-on and then getting on the field.
You mentioned having a chip on your shoulder, the way you approach the game. As a walk-on, I'm assuming that's got to be the mentality every single day. Can you kind of shed a little bit of light on that day after day, having that chip on your shoulder? Like, does the chip ever get smaller or does it just continue to grow? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, well, just the last thing that you mentioned, the chip being smaller is just pride. The devil telling you that you're much greater than you are. And so if you get lost sight in that, just not remembering who you are or who you were when you were trying to earn that spot, then you miss everything. And you just start to fall back down the ladder. And so for me, it's hard. It's frustrating. It's difficult. It's mentally draining to be a walk-on and to do the right thing over and over and over again and then still not get your shot. It's difficult, but you got to have the right mindset to know that, hey, they're not going to give you this shot. They're going to give you one out of every 5 reps, and you got to make that 1 rep count. And they're not going to look at the first one. They're not going to look at the second or the third one. You got to do those 3 right, and then make the 4th one count, and then do it in the scrimmage, and then do it in the spring game, and little things like that. And then they'll finally notice you, and injuries happen, little things happen, and there you are. You're in the game, and you make your play, and you stick there, and you earn their trust, and then the rest is history. So you just got to take every day, treat it as the most important day, and let God control the rest.
I'm glad you kind of shed some light on your situation, because in my estimation, I feel like being a walk-on, especially at this program, is probably more difficult than being a scholarship athlete. One, because like you said, you're not getting all the reps. You're getting a rep here, you're getting a rep there. So you can't get into rhythm. You can't get into the flow of the game. Right. You got to essentially come in cold and be expected to produce at the level that everybody else is producing, which is just insane. Yeah. So I tip my hat off to you. But I guess outside of having fewer reps and outside of the financial burden of paying for your own education, what other difficulties does being a walk-on student athlete present?
I would think if you let all the little games of who gets the reps, of what recruit this guy was, of what you are on the depth chart, if you let all that get to your head, that can be really hard. And I'm the first to admit, at times that really got to my head. And just because this guy was the 2 and I was the 3, even though I was producing better than him, I was like, this is BS. I'm producing better than him. I got better stats than him in spring, but he's still over me. Like, I don't understand this. And I would have a lot of conversations with my roommates, that understood my position, and they had to tell me the hard truth. Like, dude, he's a scholarship guy. They paid for him to come here. You're not going to get that recognition right off the bat. You got to keep going and going and going. So I'd be a fraud if I sat here saying that I did it all by myself. It took a lot of low points. And it took a lot of, talking with my friends and family to even get to this position. And then being able to come in there cold turkey, when somebody gets hurt or somebody gets gassed and needs a breather, is super tough. I had to learn that on the fly. I wasn't really talented at first. It took a couple of games to get under my belt of, how to really do that. But just knowing that you got to be here for the team, not for yourself. It doesn't matter what your stats were. You got there and you got the win, and that's all that matters. And I know you know that more than anybody because you had a really successful career here, and guys like me look up to you. So just knowing what it takes to get a win here at Texas, and then knowing what the history is, that just means everything to me.
How do you keep your pride contained? How do you keep your frustrations at an even keel, knowing that I'm outperforming this guy time in and time out, yet I'm not getting more reps? Like it almost feels like there's not much you can do. I know one of my favorite sayings is control what you can control. And I try to live my life like that, but you can only take so much, right? Yeah. So like, what are some of the conversations inside your mind, or some of the conversations with your close circle? What did that look like? Yeah,
for sure. Well, it all started first with my faith. I think, I put my foundation on God, and understanding that His plan is ultimately better than mine. My plan would be to come in here as a freshman, get a scholarship after week 2, and be the starting safety, and go All-American, go 3 years, and then go first round. But obviously, that's not what God wants for me, and that's not clearly what's best for me. And so, just understanding to renew my mind on His truth and not on my own self-righteousness has been really what's solved all my pain. Because there's been times that I've been so frustrated, like we talked about. But secondly, I think it's almost good to be frustrated, because if you're not, then you're just going to be complacent. And I had a talk with Coach Gideon one time when I was still trying to make it, and I told him those things. I was tired of just playing better than the guy that was in front of me and not getting the recognition. And the first thing he said was, I know who you are by you coming up and being frustrated. You're a competitor, and I like that about you. And then he just told me to trust the process, and they got a job and they got to feed their families at the end of the day. And so just to trust it and keep working, and everything else will, fall in line. So
I love that you said that you lean on your faith in times of like frustration and in times of adversity. I do a lot of speaking engagements with kids in my community and whatnot. And that's one of the biggest things I tell them. They always ask me, because I had a lot of injuries in my career. They always ask me, they're like, hey, yo, when you're hurt, like when things aren't going your way, like how do you deal with those issues? And I always tell them, you got to lean on God. Right. Like you have to. You're not going to get through none of these situations. You're going to talk yourself out of a blessing, trying to lean on your own strength. You need to lean on the Lord. And that's kind of my message. So I say all that to say that I respect the way you approach the game, man, and keep doing that.
For sure. I appreciate it. I love what you said.